President Biden discusses the crisis in Ukraine with Germany's new chancellor. It comes as French President Emmanuel Macron meets with Vladimir Putin in Moscow in an effort to defuse tensions in the region. For more on this, I'm joined by John Herbst. He's the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine. John is also a senior director of the Atlantic Council's Eurasia Center. Thank you so much for joining us, Ambassador. At the core of this conflict, Russia is demanding that Ukraine be barred from joining NATO. Vladimir Putin also wants military alliance to pull back forces from Eastern Europe. So why is he so concerned about all of this in the first place?
Mr. Putin has said that the dissolution of the Soviet Union was the greatest tragedy of the 20th century. That's a very unfortunate comment because the Soviet Union was a deeply evil regime. What he wants to do is restore Moscow's influence throughout the entire area that was dominated by the Soviet Union, not just the states of the former Soviet Union like Ukraine, but also the Warsaw Pact countries, Poland, Hungary, Czechoslovakia, which of course is now the Czech Republic, and a separate nation of Slovakia. And that's why he's demanding that NATO pull forces out of all the countries that joined NATO since the Soviet Union disappeared. And also, of course, that Russia be able to dominate Ukraine. It's a very dangerous policy which we have to thwart.
But why now? Because the Soviet Union dissolved quite some time ago. Why do you think he's pushing so hard now? And were there any lessons to be learned from what happened in 2014 with Crimea?
Well, he senses that the West is divided, that the United States is weak. I think that sense is wrong. And I think he's learning right now with the relatively strong response proposed by the Biden administration in this current crisis, supported not fully, but largely by our EU partners and our NATO allies, is proving to be an unpleasant surprise for Mr. Putin.
The White House press secretary Jen Psaki said today that the U.S. is still pushing for diplomatic solutions. In your opinion, with your experience and your knowledge, are we closer to that or a Russian invasion?
I think that Biden has told Putin that he will face three unpleasant consequences in this crisis. Two things he's already seeing. We're sending additional weapons to Ukraine, although we need to send more weapons and more advanced weapons. Two, we are sending additional forces to NATO's east to tell Mr. Putin that, yes, you can build up forces, so can we. But finally, we're saying if Putin actually invades Ukraine again, there will be devastating sanctions. And the sanctions we put down after the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2014 in Donbass and the seizure of Crimea are already costing the Russian economy 1% of GDP a year, if not more.
And that still hasn't stopped what we're seeing on the ground. And even though, as you mentioned, more weapons, more forces, these devastating sanctions, when you look at the Biden administration as a whole, how do you think that they've handled this situation so far? Is what you've mentioned enough to support Ukraine?
The measures they've taken are a good start. I think their policy should be stronger. We should be sending additional forces to NATO's east. We should be providing more weapons. For example, we should be providing the latest generation of anti-helicopter missile Stingers to Ukraine. We should be sending missiles that could take out Russian airplanes. These things that we're not doing. I think that would be better. But keep in mind, what we've done so far is not bad at all. Putin is still building up his forces, but he's yet to launch an invasion. And I think he is happy to take whatever gains he can by threat. And he's afraid, he's leery of what would happen if he actually invades Ukraine again.
All right. Ambassador John Herbst, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure.